heart speed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. It laughs so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Hello and good afternoon. Realizing yes, we do have audio. We should have audio. Hey, good afternoon. It is a little bit later than normal. It is 8:36 Central European Time. Or well, 8:36. 14, so 2 p.m. 2:36 p.m. Central European Time. It's in the afternoon, a little bit later than normally because I had some work I had to wrap up and a few other things. But yeah, that is kind of guess how life goes these days. I'm a busy bee. We do have some Yanni things to do, and we have definitely Yanni things to talk about. Good morning, Susan. Good morning, Megan. Absolutely wonderful to see you ladies with us. And the ultimate sacrifice shawl is the thing today. And I genuinely mean it's the thing because it's here and we are working and we are making good progress, as you may have seen, compared to the last. So this is pretty much the size compared to me right now. I am reasonably well into the cake. There we are. But I'm actually so far into this cake, and I need to just a moment keep track of my box where I have it. I am so far into the cake that I need to pay attention because I need to add these balls of yarn as well, which is the leftovers from the GingerTea shawl that I made a couple of weeks ago, where I finished up the buttons yesterday, and the shawl itself is on the blocking board. I had to block it because it had shrunk a little bit with the front post back post double crochets I made on it. And yeah, I am looking really much forward to show that once we are there. But as I said, I did create buttons for them yesterday, and I'm actually quite keen with how they turned out. I just did add them to a little bag here, for me easier to keep track of. And this is how they look. I am planning on using the dark blue one, so these up here, or the big one down there. So that is what I'm planning to do. I had a bit of leftovers, so I made a few smaller buttons as well. Unsure if I will ever need them, but it felt like a waste just to throw it out. And since I had enough material just to cast them, I did cast a few extra buttons. But yeah, that is currently the plan, because I feel the light blue ones are a little bit more like teal-alike, where the dark blue ones are really a really solid, nice match for these blue colors. So I'm really looking forward to get those buttons added to the GingerTea Cowl. I also think the GingerTea Cowl is more or less dry, so I could pull it off the blocks. But I don't have time for that now. We are here. We are here going live, right? And I really missed you guys because I've been absent since like 2 weeks. I've really missed you all. I went to Denmark. I had a great time in Denmark, and here we are now. Thank you for your warm compliments, Megan. I am pretty pleased with how they turned out. I should actually take them out of this bag for you to easily see. But what we could do is I could face the camera down because we are to crochet. Normally also have tea, but today I have a lemonade because while it said it was going to be colder today, the sun came up and I feel really warm. So that's just how it is. So what we are going to do is if I'll pop me over here to the dual camera view, and we'll pop down to the table here, to the working table. Then we have them again here, but they are a little bit in this shiny bag where I placed them because obviously if they're not in here, they'll get lost because they're tiny and I don't want to get them to get lost. I want to use the dark ones, which is this one. So I want to use these dark ones rather than the lighter blue ones because I have the feeling the lighter blue ones is somewhat teal. Also, I should have used a bit more pigment because when I'm holding them up, especially to the light, but it's a bit difficult to see in the camera, then they are a little bit translucent, like a little bit see-through, where these dark ones are a little bit more solid, which I think is nicer. The yarn I used obviously is similar to this one, and I think comparing these, the darker blue somehow just seems nicer, I think. And it's gonna sit on like similar to what we have here at the outer edging, though it is gonna have some lighter covering, but I still think somehow the darker blue matches better. So that is the quick thoughts. And these are, what are they? 1.5 inch or so? Let me just find my measuring tape for you guys because I know you guys are curious of the sizing. They are, well, no, they're 1/2 inch, maybe a bit more. Whoops, I should turn it around because else you guys can't read it. I have it at 0 here, so it's tiny bit more than 1/2 inch large. And then of course the smaller ones, they're like what, 1/4 inch. But as I said, I didn't have enough material to cast the big ones, so I did cast a couple of small ones. In hindsight, I might have had enough material to cast an extra big one. I also have casted extra buttons than I need, but you know, you can always use a button for something, so I thought, why not? Back to my lovely collection, so I don't throw them away. Here for the Ultimate Sacrifice Shawl, we are at a place where I am about to do another increase here on the fan edge. Also, I am currently working in the color or in the strands, which is like 3 medium blue and a dark blue strand. And that is the exact same as I have here, which means that once I get to the color change of this one, I have to cut the yarn and we have to add this one extra because these, my friends, are the extra materials I have left over from the GingerTea Cowl. And I didn't want to add them to my stash. So I thought it was so much more making sense to actually use the other skein I had and make a shawl where I could extend the colors. And that is why we're making this one. Because 800 meters of yarn for an Ultimate Sacrifice shawl is decent. But if you want a little bit of a bigger shawl, a little bit more would be nice. And I think I had approximately estimate a good 200 meters of yarn left, but that is including the fact that this center piece is already taken out of this ball. So, so far, the project is working as intended. And we are gonna continue with where we are. And as I said, I need to do an extra increase here because I just got to the round of increasing, and the pattern is so simple. And what I really like about it is the fact that, you know, every 4 rows you increase the fans, and I've done 4 where I have 5 double crochets, which means that I'm now increasing with an extra, so I'll have 6 double crochets on each side of the fan, or 12 in total in each fan, however you want to see it. And you know, it's just every 4, so it's that is, I like the simplicity of how to, like, the pattern at some stage kind of ends and says, once you've gotten this far, blah blah blah, the end. But I'm like, you know, the thing is, you can increase it as you need, by just keeping the rule of every 4 rows increase. You could technically probably also even do more rows without increase, like instead of doing with increases, let's say 4 rows, and you have 6 on each side, you could probably also do 5 rows with it for the last row if you're on the edge of playing yarn chicken. I do have quite a while before starting on the yarn chicken game, as the fact is that, as you can see, as I said, I do have this big cake, which is not that big anymore, but I have approximately this much in a cake, plus this we are going to add. And it is thin weight yarn. It is like a 1/2 weight yarn. I don't know what they classify it themselves, actually. I don't want to move too much around on this. They say it's a 2 weight fine. It's a 4-stranded yarn. The Hobbii Azalea, 52% cotton, 48% acrylic, and it is very soft to work with. Certainly a yarn I really enjoy. I just wish they had more color options. I think they have 8 or something like that. Like, personally, I'd love a few more color options. At the same time, it's only 800 meters, so if one wanted to make a bigger project, you would kind of depend on more cakes. And on that account, I think some of the Linda Hobbii soft cakes, flower cakes, they're really nice. But also, there are lots of cake designers. So basically, cake crafters, people who create these cakes with these thin yarns, which is a bunch of work to do. I have mad respect for them. And I am honest being so tempted to get some cakes from some of them, but at the same time, I just know how much lack of space I have in my stash that I am not looking to add to it right now. Actually, even there's a German store who offered me extra discount because I pointed out something for her for her Instagram, as she had some linking errors, and she was so happy. So she was like, "Yeah, if you ever need to make an order, please let me know, and I'll give you a discount code." I just need to, yeah, order one day. And she also makes some custom ones, so I'm like, oh, coolio. But as said, there is a space issue, and I still have this project of decreasing my stash this year, which I am not, well, I am progressing, but I'm not as well as I wanted to progress. Of course, the goal is to finish this shawl this month, which would be good because that's another 800 meters of yarn done and dusted. And I do, of course, have a few other projects that I finished up, so that was nice. But yeah, fact is just I don't craft as quick as I seem to think. Like, It's so much faster to buy yarn and find ideas for your craft, but to do the actual craft, I don't know. It seems just like it takes for ages compared to. But I guess it's the power of the mind, right? We are quite quick thinkers, but we are not necessarily so quick in action. Um, for this particular shawl, I did work some on it in the evening because it's been warm, and due to the heat, I did not feel like working on the fleur. It's been a bit humid here in the Netherlands. It's like late summer, which means that we've had a few quite warm days. Like yesterday was 27 degrees Celsius here, probably past 30 further south, um, but still it's been hot, and not in a way where you would like to sit with a big blanket across your legs. So I feel that fleur is probably going to be a project that I'll work more on this autumn, rather than right here and right now. So yeah, I just need to pay attention when this comes, and then I need to decide if I'm like tying a big fat knot or how I'll best proceed adding it. I do have some ends I'll need to weave in as well, I guess. We'll have to figure that out when it comes, but we are still good. And I feel I've been on this color for a while, so I really feel we are going to add this first ball quite soon. And the thing is, I could then instantly, if I'm clever, add the second color, because I know how the coloring goes for the rest of this yarn. And if I add the second color, then I can work longer before needing to cut the yarn again, which is, something I like. Good afternoon, Helle. And hello, Trudy. Warm welcome to this live. I hope you're doing well. Not sure where you're from. I am in the Netherlands. That said, I am a native Dane. I live in the Netherlands, but I am Danish of origin. So I am, yeah, purebred Viking living in Europe. And just cracking along here. As I said, we eventually need to add, oops, yarn split. We need to add these balls, and these balls of yarn which I had laying over there, is from the GingerTea Cowl. Trudy, you are from the Netherlands, or you live in the Netherlands. Wonderful. So I could talk Dutch to you, technically. I've learned to speak Dutch. Zo, ik kan ook Nederlands praten, maar de meeste hier spreekt toch immers Engels. En vandaar gaat dit in het Engels. And what I just said is that I can also choose to speak Dutch, but that wouldn't be very fair to most of you, because most of you won't be able to understand me. Most of you do speak English, and that is why I do my streams in English. But yeah, so it's just me hanging around. Finished work a bit less than an hour ago, an hour and a, well, 40 minutes maybe or so ago. Had to prep a few things, also had to receive a parcel, and that is why I went live a bit later. Normally I'm live around 2 p.m. Wonderful, wonderful. But always glad to see new people here. Definitely, we are a crafty community. We give different suggestions. We come, like, if I'm in doubt on how to do things, I sometimes listen to you guys, and sometimes you guys ask me questions just to get crafting ideas, and sometimes it just inspire people to do things. You know, it's considered a bit of a a crafty place to hang out, like your local craft club, I guess, when I'm live. I am living between Arnhem and Nijmegen, so I am in Gelderland all the way to the east. And sometimes I do go visit some stores, like Seeman or Vibra or so, and I bring you guys along. I'd really love to go to Saltbommel at some stage, to the Jan Wool Plaza, Janplein, what's called Jan Plaza, I would say, Jan Place. Yeah, janplaza.com. It's called in it pure English, but it's called Woolplein Pundanil. They seem to have a really nice big in-store, so that seems really, really cool. So I'd like to go there one day to visit their store, but the problem is it's an hour drive from here, and I don't have a car, and public transportation is going to be a pain in the rear. So it's just on my dream visit. I've been to the Hobbii store in Denmark, one of the Hobbii stores, physical stores in Denmark and Roskilde, where I actually also on my channel do have a visit from. I went there also last week, but I did not do any recording. What I had hoped to see there were some of their new yarns, the Bella Coco merino yarn, but they didn't have it in the store. And I kind of hope to see some of the new Halloween and Christmas yarns there, just to see the colors in real life before considering buying them. But they had absolutely zero holiday yarns at all, or special edition yarns. It was just like what they had last time, more or less. So some of the yarns had changed the location on the shelves, so they had been moved to a new shelf or something like that. But generally, it was just the same, which, well, felt a bit odd to kind of record again. So I decided not to, and then I would just like nosing around. Hilversum. Yeah, I don't come that often in Hilversum. I may, though, in a couple of weeks go to Amsterdam because we are at work having a meeting with a business partner from Sweden, and they would like if I poked my head by, but it's like super duper early in the morning. So I will have to see if I can make that work. But that's in September, and depending on how late I'll be busy done there, maybe I could find a yarn store to stop by in Amsterdam before going home. That could be kind of cool. That would feel very useful, actually. I do know that Stephen West has his yarn store in Amsterdam, not too awful far from the central station, so that might be a consideration. Plus, when I'm going to Amsterdam for work, my boss is paying for my train ticket. Bingo. So that's kind of like a win-win if that ends up being the case. Let's see. Well, it's I've still not gotten to this yarn color change yet, which I had expected to be quite a while ago because I've really been working on this color for a bit, but I don't know. Maybe it's longer than I thought it would be. Generally, what I feel with these Azalea cakes is that the first and the last color are a bit longer than the actual color changing colors. So the very bright blue and the very dark blue seems to be different. Yeah, there's a few big yarn stores in Amsterdam, or at least a few yarn stores in Amsterdam that would be lovely to visit. I always like it. It feels nice, like, you know, we can all coast longer in a yarn store than we think, right? The first time I went to the Hobbii store in Roskilde, I think I spent like 2.5 hours in there, and I was surprised that the time had already gone by so fast. So yeah. but I am a little bit on a try not to buy too much yarn. I'm allowed to buy yarn, but I'm trying to buy as little as possible, basically, which is not exactly going super well because I've been buying more than intended. Um, but I am sort of trying to limit my yarn purchase a bit so that I can use up my yarn, or use up more yarn than I buy is kind of the intention here. Because my stash is huge. I could fill a whole room with it probably, like if I would put it on shelves and everything. And I don't have an extra room for that. I could use one, but that would require us to move. And we can definitely not afford to move, or that alone, buy a bigger house, because the housing market is a crazy. Like, I cannot believe how expensive houses has become, but at the same time, everything has gotten deadly expensive everywhere. Generally, so expensive. Even food, like everything is just inflation is crazy. The past like 5 years has gone for, like I have the feeling the inflation the last 5 years has gone faster than the inflation compared to the inflation the like from 5 to 10 years ago, if that makes sense. Mine too, so much yarn. Yes. So that is the conclusion, is truly that we are very quick at getting a new idea and wanting to do something. And it's very easy to buy yarn, but to use it and craft our ideas takes so much longer than it takes to get the ideas. That's the issue. Because, I could get plenty of ideas. I could also probably make some of it using the yarns I already have in my stash. I don't know why I don't do that, but I'm just being like, oh, that would be nice. Oh, okay, I need this yarn because I can see it being so great in this yarn, and then I'll buy it and I'll put it in my stash, and I just don't get around doing it, or I still have plans to do it, but haven't had the time because I have other projects I've given priority. The only reason I started this shawl is because I didn't want to put these bowls in my scrap stash. Or, well, I actually had it wound up in one big ball, but I didn't want to put one big ball with multiple colors in one ball in my stash either. Um, so that is kind of why I ended up starting this shawl instead of starting on maybe a different shawl or a different project. But it's okay. It is okay. Um, And then, of course, we still have this big, massive fleur that I want to complete. Fleur is the mosaic blanket, which I'm working on, designed by Anke Wintermans, also a Dutch designer. Super gorgeous pattern. It's just way too warm to work on a blanket in this weather. This morning was really cold, and now the sun gotten through here. And now I'm like, it's warm. And we are still on the 3 medium blues. I'm just checking my yarn to see if I'm popping into the color changing knot, because I need to pay attention to that one, as that is where we have to cut the yarn and work it with the other ball we have to extend it, because that is the plan here. Let's see, now we are done with the increases there, so now we are just doing the 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets in each of the chain spaces. So that is simple. Also a bit quicker because I don't need to find the stitch, I just need to find the chain space. That's nice. So obviously I can work that a bit quicker. For those curious, I am using a Clover soft touch hook, and it's a 3.5 millimeters. Nope, there's still no color change inside. I really have the feeling I worked on this forever already. So maybe, I don't know if this one is longer than the rest. Or it's just me not remembering correct. I don't know. Not impossible. Definitely not impossible. If it's possible to show the shawl, most definitely. If you would hang on for a minute and I'll just finish this chain space because I want to obviously insert a stitch marker before doing so. The shawl is the same as the one I have also. I did add it on the thumbnail, the most recent part, before starting this row. But let's see, what can I best do? If I go to this one, and then I need to change, because I think if I do hold it up, I can try to show it here, but the problem is the table space here is not big enough to actually show the shawl. So we'll pop up here. And what I could do, I could get up. And then I can show how much is there so far. So it's becoming this sort of, it's not the best coloring due to the light, I'm sorry. But yeah, that is kind of what we're looking at. I've done a few of them in the past, and they've become so gorgeous. I made one also. So these last one I made it in the same coloring from center. So I would have continued in the dark color all the way out. It was in purple. I did that this spring. Let's see if I actually have a photo of that one. I could have. I made also one this autumn. If you give me a moment, let's like this. This one I made this autumn. That would be the full spread out fan version of it. Do I also have one showing it all? That is the real question. That is the real question. I would need to have a look at that for that. If I still have a photo saved on the other one. Maybe, but it's a while ago. So here we are. I just need to pop in here, and then we'll need to go down. That's not the one I'm working on right now, obviously. That was too far ago. That's a challenge when you see me scroll, I guess. Like this. Then we'll do like this, and then we need to, oh goodness, I need to flip this around. Why is it not flipped? Did I have an older one? I don't know why it's not flipped. That is a good question. Oh, because it's not the right one. We'll try again. Just a moment. I have too many shawls in my stash. There we go. Now we just need to size-wise it into, because it's way too big for my screen, which I'm not surprised about, of course. Like this. Ta-ta! This is the same, basically, version. It's just not blocked on this one, where the other one I showed is blocked, but this is not blocked. I need to block that as well. For this, I added 1.5 row extra of white because I had that from an old skein on the outside. So that actually also used up some in my stash, plus whatever was in this cake. That is a cake of 1,000 meters. So 250 grams to 1,000 meters of yarn was a yarn arts rose garden cake. So similar to Hobbie's Sultan Deluxe or Scheepjes Whirl. They have some of those cotton whirls as well. So yeah. So that's kind of the concept of the shawl. I've made them a few times. So this would be my third of them. And it's blue. Good morning, Gwen. Wonderful to see you this morning. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Trudy. It's a very simple pattern once you get on it, and it just, for the simplicity, is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. In that sense, it's just super gorgeous. And I craft also more than I can use, so I have this big pile of shawls playing around. And I generally always, mostly, have some sort of shawl on my hook. Not always necessarily on the lives, but I usually have a shawl, or I just finished a shawl, or I'm about to start a new shawl. I have done quite a few of Red Teapot Atelier's patterns because she makes absolutely gorgeous shawls too. But I do also have a list of shawl patterns from Ravelry, which I'd love to make at some stage. But there is something called time. And shawls do take quite a bit of time to do. So that's the thing. But yeah, so here we're just chucking along to see how far we'll get, and that's pretty much the goal for today. I do though have a bucket hat that I want to crochet. Well, I finished one while I was in Denmark, or almost finished it. I had one row to go. But the thing is, I actually think I might have enough yarn left to make another one, but in a smaller size. So I've been contemplating if I should play yarn chicken and make an extra, because I'm not really sure what else to use the yarn for. So I don't dislike the idea of making an extra, but it will be a yarn chicken show, I think, but I don't know. That's laying right over there. Because the pattern said I needed 4 skeins for it, so I bought 4 skeins for it, and I only used 2 skeins and 20% of the third. So would I use 180% instead of 210% if I made the size bigger or smaller? Or would I use, would I have enough? That is the big question if I want to play yarn chicken with it. Optionally, I do have a few other skeins, different colors, so I could add a brim in a different color if I really genuinely wanted to. Or I'll just do it and then, I don't know. Worst case, I guess I could buy a skein of yarn at some stage when it gets on sale to finish it. That is pending thoughts. Very much pending thoughts. Or I'll try to make the size even smaller and make it more like a child size. I could do that, but if I do that, I could also just choose to not weave in any ends until I see if I'll win yarn chicken or not. And if I don't, I'll frog it and make the size like a child size, except there is no child size in the pattern, but I could probably rework it to turn into a child-sized bucket hat. But we'll talk about that in Friday's Yarn Talk video. where I hopefully can also show you guys the buttons that I made, and maybe the finalized version of the GingerTea Cowl. It also depends on how warm it is as well. Like, do I really want to wear it? A mannequin is also on my wish list, except I don't have room for it, so another reason to clear out my stash to make room for it. So let's see. Last row we increased here, so I don't need to increase. Coolio. So every second row on the tip, the bottom of the shawl, so to say, I also need to add in increases. And that was last row. So therefore this row, I'm just basically doing the same all the way around, which is in every chain space, I'm working in 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all the way until I get to the shell bit again. And I intentionally have stitch markers in the tips because it kind of just makes me like I need to pay less attention when I get there, because it's like a quick being like, okay, now you are at the tip, which I could probably reasonably easy see, but every second row it's a little bit less obvious because it's a little bit more rounded due to it not being an increase row, so to say. Yeah, it's just easiness. It's a conveniency. Stitch markers is something I use quite a bit for conveniency. Sometimes I even use it for if I do something where I need to have like do the next X, let's say 10 stitches as what I don't know, double crochets, and then you need to increase in the 11th stitch and then another 10 and then etc. I tend to place stitch markers where I need to increase, because then I don't need to count. I can just do the counting and then I crochet and then I'll count and place a stitch mark again as needed. Yeah. Trudy says my next project will be the South Bay shawl. Is that a pattern we can see on Ravelry, or where did you find it? I am curious because I may just look it up for funsies. Also, because I do sometimes get inspired by my fellow crocheters to make specific patterns. So that could be another reason, because who knows, maybe I'm like, oh, that is so gorgeous, I may actually want to do it as well. Definitely not impossible. I also have a bunch of yarn laying, which I need to cut up and prep to make the Heart Collector shawl, which is one gigantic shawl if you make the full-size version. And I will need to block off multiple times if I even want to go that direction, because I will definitely not be able to have it neither on the floor or on the blocking board. I do have a limited room for that. You don't know South Bay shawl. Well, we could go and see, except now my hook fell out, so I'll just place a stitch marker shortly. For convenience, checking could be if it's on Ravelry, we can find out. The South Bay shawl. Patterns, advanced search. South Bay shawl. There is a South Bay shawlettes by Lion Brand. I don't know if that's the one. That would be ta-ta. That will be this one, which is a Lion Brand. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I've seen this one before, I feel, looking at how that's lined up here on the photos. That's nice. I like it. You can do it both easily. It goes both well in singular color and in a faded color. South Bay by Lion Brand. Lace weight. According to this, you do not need much yarn. But that's because it's in a silk mohair. I do have yarns in like a fussy yarn that I could use for this, maybe. Huh. You know, it goes into my favorites because who knows? And the thing is, it's free pattern. I like free patterns. Free patterns are good. Free patterns are good. I think it's a free pattern. No, not that. No, no, not that one. Okay, not that one. Then I'm not sure, but who knows? You're also welcome, if you have a link for the pattern, to email it to me. Email me the link. In that event, let me just add my email to this chat, because not everybody tends to write my email correct. Part of that is due to it being a family name. And I will also pin it for those that would like to know me. Good morning, Revenant. Wonderful to see you this morning. If I am unravel you anyway, check out the Nana June's Blessing Blanket. Blessing Blanket. Sure, let's pop over. Blessing Blankets. Well, there's plenty. Which I have a feeling it's not none of these. Nana June's. Here. There. Yuan. Xuan, the Yarn Addicts blanket here. That's a lovely color, by the way. That is gorgeous. I like it. I like it. The only challenge is it's a blanket. And the weather is a bit warm to make blankets here right now, especially when you don't have an air conditioning. Which is why I haven't worked on Fleur for the last 2.5, 3 weeks. And I am getting further behind on my goal, which means that probably this autumn I will have a work blast on it. It's my expectation. But it's a nice project, so it's an easy, nice wrap up, which is a good thing to know, should I want to make a blanket. As said, I am still progressing on the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl, which we kind of had a bit more than started on 2 weeks ago, but I didn't bring this one with me when I went to Denmark. So I did have like a few days, actually I had 6 or 7 days where I didn't work on it. But here we are. And I am so far now that I am inches away, well, not a bit more than inches probably, to change. And you know, we have these yarn balls, which I need to, let's see, in this order, from lighter to darker, which we need to add at some stage when I get my yarn change, color change. If you have blue sky, you can search my name. I posted my finished project last night. If I have blue sky. If I have blue sky. I don't know. What you mean? If I have blue sky. It's blue sky outside actually, but I don't think that is what you mean. Or is it just blue sky as name on Ravelry? Yeah, people. There's a few blue skies. Ah, blue sky is like Twitter, but less evil. Aha. No, I don't have blue sky. That's a new one. Trudy says she sold on a Dutch site. Don't know if you can put her name here. You probably can't put links because you aren't a moderator or a channel owner. But you can put a name, as in you can write out the name, and I can attempt to find it. I know there is also a Dutch shawl designer who makes really gorgeous shawls. Name is omitting me right now. Western something. You know, like when I see it, I'm like, yeah, that's her. I think there's so many social media sites these days out on the market. I feel like once you finally gotten used to using one, the next one pops up. And if I don't know if they want you to keep track on everything. I am not a very good Twitter user, and it definitely didn't help when it turned into X. I will have to say that, for being honest. LinkedIn is these days also a social media site, at least if you're trying to do stuff for your work environment. And there is so many other professionals now trying to link to me after I got the job I currently have. Where I'm like, holy smokes. That's cool. I guess that just comes with it. So LinkedIn is a whole different ball game as well. Vonnis Creaties. Yes, sir. I know her. She is also on YouTube. But she does everything in Dutch. She does everything in Dutch. And she works with a lovely store all the way up in Friesland, tweedehands voerwinkel. She has some really nice things up there too. Let's see. But she makes some really nice things as well, definitely. She just does it all in Dutch. And I'm not even going to try. Um, I don't know half the terms in Dutch, even actually. I barely know them in Danish. And a part of that is due when I started relearning crocheting or refundling my memories and reminders and so on. That is kind of when how can I say that best? It was like I found it on I found it on YouTube, some of it, like reminding on how to do things, and patterns are in English because there's so much more possibilities and stuff, limiting myself to only being able to read Dutch patterns or Danish patterns. Being able to read English patterns is the vast majority of opportunities is so much bigger. Of course, I could probably read a Dutch pattern, but I would have to figure out certain things, unless, of course, they are with the signs for single crochets, half doubles, doubles, etc. I could probably easier do that because pattern reading is something I do. Let's see. South Bay. 9 years ago she made this. But it doesn't show the shawl in full. Maybe it does, just not the thumbnail she made. Give me a moment to see if we actually get something. No. It doesn't. That's a shame. But I don't know if it's... I don't know if her shawl then is, if she recreated an English pattern and just turned it into Dutch. Trudy says she had a herseninfarct. That is a stroke, if I'm not wrong. Oh my god, that's not nice. I'm sorry to hear that. Was it a long time ago? I forgot how to crochet, and because of that, I'm here to learn to crochet. And yeah, well, you are more than welcome to plug in and hang out. I know Von is she's really good at explaining things in Dutch. My lack of Dutch term is probably also due to the fact that I did learn some from my mom, and she's Danish. She definitely don't know the Dutch words for it. Like when I hear Dutch terminology, it's only because I pop into a Dutch person who says something, and I'm like picking them up. But I also don't always know the Danish words. So sometimes when I'm explaining my mom about a pattern, I'm like, and then I'll do those, and she kind of knows what I'm talking about because she's kind of gotten used to it after watching my YouTubes. With what I mean by the stitches. This pattern, for example, is super simple because it's a bunch of double crochets mainly. So that is stokjes, if I'm not wrong, in Dutch. And in Danish, it would be stangmasker. Very fancy wording. Very long wording for something like a simple. Yep, we haven't changed color yet. You also have to learn to knit again. I can imagine, depending also on what side of the brain you had your stroke, that some motoric movements has changed, and you have to relearn how to use the muscle part. So you probably do know the basics, but it's the challenge of making your hands do them. I can imagine. But sometimes we need to be happy about the second chances in life, and who knows? We could pray that while you're relearning to both crochet and knit, that you actually forget your bad habits and learn some great habits. Left side to the creative side, so to say. But we could hope that that you have de-learned all the negatives, like all the bad habits, and now you can like learn all the good habits. Guess we need to look at the positive aspects, right? Has to find something positive. But definitely my prayers for recovery, for relearning process, because at that, my friend, is going to be tough. But it's just about you take the time for the energy you have, because I can imagine you also have days where the energy levels might not be as great as other days. And if you feel like doing it for 10 minutes, do it for 10 minutes. It's much better than if you try to do it for an hour and you keep up running your head into this barrier of not having enough energy to do it, or whatever not, right? So, sometimes, just take the small things and just do a little bit if that is what makes you feel good, and give it a break and then pick it up a bit later again. Still no sign of a color change. I am surprised because normally it almost before the row is complete changes color, but I've done more than a row now if it continues like this. I know the same goes for my mom. She also has days where she has no energy to do anything, and then she has days where she does a bit. That is though not due to stroke, but due to the lack of energy from chemotherapy treatment. But I think she is a champ, everything considering. And she is doing, for the fact of what it is, decent. But we are definitely not through yet. She had her 10th treatment last week, and I will go to Denmark again in September for her 12th and last treatment. And then hopefully she has some weeks to recover and get better, and then in October we have the PET scan to see if it's actually helped, which of course we all pray and hope it has. I'm so grateful I came out with pretty good, thank God. Yeah, so it sounds like, given the fact you had a stroke, there's a few things, but it's definitely not as bad as it could have been. Revenant says, my mother had a Bell's palsy stroke a few years ago and has made total recovery, so it's very possible to get back to everything. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Especially because, having a stroke is, I think it's a horrible thing to go through. Because I suspect that you are totally aware mentally that it's not good, but you can't necessarily do much about it, so to say. So you really have time to experience lots of fears when it kind of happens. I think it must be horrible, to be honest, to go through. And I am always so impressed by the people who manage to recover and to do things. And I think we also need to give people space. A lot of people still have some issues after a stroke, which is not visible to the to the eye, but it is to actions. I do know a person who had a stroke a couple of years ago, and while she can't do everything today, her energy levels is drastically lower than they used to be. So she can only do, let's say, she can only do something for an hour, and then after that hour, she needs a break. She might need to sleep for half an hour. She needs to rest her brain because it's like very physical, demanding, energy-wise, after she had the stroke to do everything. But she has recovered to the extent that she has further no limitations except for the she easily gets disturbed, and of course high noises is extra disturbing for her, but further than that, she's doing, given the situation, pretty good. And I think people are lucky if they're not getting, like, as long as you're not alone when it happens, because people around you can react and call the ambulance and stuff like that to get help, right? Oh, it's such a sad topic, strokes. um I will pray that none of us will ever get one again, or get one, or yeah. And for those who've had one, I pray for your recoveries. Always tired. Yeah, I can imagine. But the challenge is not everybody understands in your surroundings because they aren't necessarily aware of it. Chronic tiredness is something I am familiar with, though. But that is due to I have an autoimmune disease. And I do have moments where I am very tired. Like, a very good example would be Monday. I had 7 hours of absolutely wonderful sleep, but I absolutely could not feel I've had slept for 7 hours. My partner, on the other side, barely had a nice sleep compared to me because he went late to bed. I don't know why, but well, he's business, not mine. He had no issues being freshly wide awake. What did I do here? My crickets. I need to frog. This is not fun. I need to frog this because I made an extra chain 2 space here, which doesn't need to be there. So I don't know if you can see it, but we need to go back a row plus. I'm trying. Right here adds an extra space that doesn't need to be there because the space is up here. See? There's a space in the middle. And I can't, like, no, technically it should look like this, but it doesn't. I am just gonna say crap. And if you do not like watching people frog their makes, then it's now the time to look away because we have to frog a row and a half back to fix this. That is, for crying out loud, not a good thing. But what we could do to help myself a little bit, I guess, is to insert a stitch marker so I don't accidentally frog too far back. That is, for crying out loud, really, really sad. My crickety crickets. Ah, it's what it is. This is what happens when the perfectionist attacks and not, I don't know how I did that. I was watching something on television. Because that was last night. That was not last night or the night before. It was definitely not today I did that. That is a sad story. So I'm just frocking back into my project crate, which I'm kind of crying about because obviously that is sad. None of us like frocking. The worst thing I ever did was frocking 23 rows back on the Ceylon tea shawl. I know I had people leaving the stream because they could not see and watch me frock back that long. And it was also because, well, I had forgotten to add a chain 2. Here I added a chain 2 without needing to add a chain 2. I don't know why, but this is such a big issue I can't just not. Like, I am kind of happy, I guess, that I didn't add the new ball of yarn yet, because that would have been, well, I could have wound it up in that one, I guess, but yeah. Da, da, da. The only good thing is that it is a quick shawl to make, in the sense of the pattern is easy, so it's not because it's gonna, like, and it's an easy stitch and so on, but it's just annoying. I'm more sad about it because it's a lot of work, right? A row and a half. Yep. Because it was almost at the beginning of the other row. I'm so not happy. But the end result makes me happy. And that is why. This is just a path to the end result. We're almost there. Now I just hope my yarn doesn't hangle. We'll see if I can. I'm not sure if we reached to get back to the same stage where we were, but this is the center, so we can insert that one again. Tip. But yeah, my goodness, it is sad days. Sad days. Ah, my goodness. You know, if it had been small enough of a mistake that I could work it away, so to say, like it wouldn't be quote unquote visible, I would probably have left it because, yes, it's quite a bit of yarn that I've frogged up here. But it's unfortunately not the case. It would be like, it's very visible that there's an extra gap. Like there's one big extra gap here. So I couldn't just leave it. And that comes due to this random spontaneously chain 2 I decided to add in the middle of it. Let's see if I did this. I did. Okay, so now ready to watch the pain in a project crate. It now looks like this. That is how much I've rubbed off. And it goes back. And the fun thing is, this, my friends, are 3 strands of medium blue and a solid blue, which is the exact same color as the lightest one here, which is 3 strands of medium blue and a solid blue. So these two are the same. That is. I have the feeling that on this cake, this color ran longer than the other colors here in between have, but because that almost went to rows, and the other, some of these has like not even gonna full. So I don't know, but it's what it is. It's cool. Yeah, are we ready to continue? I had an increase, but I'm not making that increase anymore because we are doing 5s, which means that we are going back on it. I am going to move the screen a bit because I need to. I'm pulling you guys a bit closer, but I need to relax a bit after this frocking. I need to breathe. Yes, that was painful. Thank you for feeling my pain, Revenant. It almost feels, yeah, that I can get a virtual hug. Oh my goodness. How did I manage not to see that? It's what it is. I don't know how I made that mistake because it's so simple, right? Right now I just need to do in the fancier right now it's like I skip 4 stitches and then I do 3 double crochets and then I get to the space where I do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. On the other side I do another 3 and then I skip 4 stitches. So the mistake was that I did 3 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, etc. And there should definitely not have been 2 double crochets between the the 2 and 3 double crochets on the fans. So, oh well. We are already moving on. It was more very sad to frog all this, and for matter making worse, I don't think that we will reach to add a color during this live. Because I started later than I normally do due to needing to finish some stuff up at work, right? And I have to say, and that is generally true, I very much enjoy my new job, and therefore I would be very sad if I wouldn't get my contract extended in the autumn, and thus obviously that takes preference. Um, Robin says, I'm attempting a crochet challenge right now, running 2 worsted weight yarns together with an 8mm hook. I keep not picking up both strands, so it likes 2 steps forward, 1 steps back, but I'm determined to do this. I can imagine that, actually. And it's not because it would have been more optimal with a 9mm hook. You would have had easier picking up both strands, that it's maybe just in the edge too tight. Because this is 4 strands, that goes easy, but of course it also depends on how easy you have those 2 skeins together. Or are you just doing an outside and an inside pull of a skein, or are they 2 different balls slash skeins that you put together? When I made my rib knit beanie, I was very happy that I had put them all on, like I had caked them up, and that they were all on yarn holders. That really made working with 3 yarns so much easier, though they were still tangling and twirling a bit, but genuinely it was easier to work with like that. It's 2 scrap cakes, but it's more just not being used to doing this. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It does take a little bit of practice working with multiple yarns at the same time. In my case, it's definitely not the last time that I'm working with thicker yarns combined. I was rather pleased with how the beanie turned out. So I can see myself probably doing that sometime again. I just need to find the right yarns for it. But I could also just option to combine solids. I think if I made a smaller one, I have enough left of the 2 solid ones to make an extra, but not of the variegated. Or I just make one big scrap. Oh, that was one too many. Or I make one big scrap beanie. Lots of different yarns combined. That could be fun too. I like that idea actually. Like knitting a beanie out of scrap yarn. And just combining them every so often, new colors, spontaneously. I could definitely favor and fan that. Hello, Rudy. Hello, wonderful to see you. Hope you're having a great day wherever in the world you are. The effect is neat. Happened to grab 2 cakes that work well together, at least right now, a pink and a dark red. That sounds like a nice combi. Yes, most definitely do. I do have some other, it feels a bit like scrap yarns. They do have labels on them, but I don't know how many meters are in the cakes, nor the actual thickness of the yarn, which I'm probably going to cake up and turn into beanies, because I'm not really sure what else to use the yarn for. At some stage I was trying to sell it, but there wasn't really any takers for it, which I kind of don't blame them 100% for, to be honest. And now I think I might just consider knitting some beanies with it. That would probably work out well like that. Plus, I would get rid of the yarn. What is not to like? I do have one of them that I think could go really nice in combo with another yarn, so I might want to check up on that first. So double stranding yarns to make these rib knit beanies is definitely, it's a winner. But I think you could also easily do it for crochet purposes, definitely. As I said, we are now in a piece, and that is what I like about these, where I just have to work in the chain spaces only. That goes pretty quick, right? It's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then onto the next space. That is the only real benefit here. I decided doing a new thing that's challenging enough, so just doing a continuous granny. So it's going to be one big granny blanket. I have some yarn that I think could be really nice to do like one of those hexagon or octagon grannies, vests slash sweaters slash cardies. So part of me is like thinking maybe I should do that. But a part of me is not 100% decided yet either. And a part of me is thinking that I could also make a crap ton of beanies of it, but I'm not sure if I really want to do that, because obviously making the same over and over and over again, only doing that, it does get tedious over time. Four cakes are all about 10 to 12 ounces, so that is roughly 284 to 340 grams. Okay. Yardage? Like the old worsted weight, or like what thickness of yarn should I imagine here? I have a single color transaction in cake in these like thin yarn, which is like, poo, it's more than 12 ounces. It's like a 2000 meter full thing. That's probably like 16 ounces or something like that. All worsted. Okay, cool. I just don't know what to make from it. Part of me is like, oh, I could make a baby blanket, and I'm big like, yeah, blanket. I'm not a big blanket maker, I will admit. Well, except for obviously I'm doing fleur, but next to that, I'm like, blankets is, phew, takes so long. And I really enjoy them in the beginning. And then as I get closer to the end, they get more tedious because it takes longer to make. Trita says I have to go to my doctor call at 3 o'clock. Absolutely understandable. It's kind of 4 now, so I hope you mean 4 o'clock. Take care, Trudy. Absolutely wonderful to see you. Feel free to check in another time if I happen to be live or watch my videos. Wonderful to meet you. And take care. And all the best at your appointment. Hilversum, where Trudy is about a bit more than an hour's drive from here. But that said, Netherlands is not exactly a big country size-wise. There's just a lot of people living here. In fact, the Netherlands is the highest populated or densely populated country in Europe. So compared to the amount of land we do have the most amount of people. And there are really regions in the northern part of the Netherlands where you are able to go quite a distance before you see more people, which is kind of nice. But yeah. I make mostly blankets. A hat on occasion, a random shawl here and there. Yeah, okay. Do you have places where you donate the blankets, or do you sell them, or gift them? Because that is a lot of blankets, I can imagine. Susan says double stranding using up yarn hordes twice that fast. Yeah, would that be another good point of me having to do some of those stranding up? Definitely considering, most definitely considering some of those to work that up like that. So it's definitely on my mind. Gifted several and donate some, but my dove likes crochet blankets, so she gets lots of my smaller ones. That makes good sense. And so the thing is, she can smell you because you have had your hands on them while you crafted them, and she can snuggle in them. Makes perfect sense, or at least in my world, it makes perfect sense. Yep. We are back. So we passed the tip. So we are almost halfway through the second side of that frog we just did. Darn, that was quite a frog, wasn't it? She's 13. We think she was rescued. I got her when she was 5-ish. Oh, that's nice. In the sense of, I like the fact that you rescued her. And if she feels really well taken care of and she's in a lot better place, which I'm sure she is if she's 13 already, you know, dogs are grateful animals when they get treated well, right? And they don't condemn or judge or anything. I'll be honest to say I'd love to get a dog when, that is, I'm an old lady. I do not think I have enough time to do it now. Also because we do still have things for where we travel and do activities. But I'd really love to like onwards at some stage when I get old and I'm less active on the roads. I'd imagine it would be nice to have one. And in that event, I'd love to have an old Danish breed actually. Because, well, generally I'd like a bit bigger dog, but my partner, if he would want a dog, he would want a bit smaller of an animal. He's more of the dachshund type size. and I'm more like the German Shepherd size type person. So we have to meet somewhere in the middle. And I found one which is an old Danish Swedish farm dog, which I think is great for what I would like and size wise and everything. I think the best you can compare that to would be like a Jack Russell. Um, an older dog, she forgets this fact. Sometimes she tries to run around like a puppy on occasion. Doesn't that count for all of us? We all sometimes try to do things we used to be able to do really, really great when we were younger. And then we realize while we're doing that that the limbs of ours are slightly bit not as lenient as they used to be. Um, I, for instance, is definitely not as lenient as I used to be. I've turned into like a stiff old lady, and I'm not even that old. But it definitely feels like it, depending on what I'm trying to pull off. She's a black lab collie mix, so black dog in Texas. We got her in August. Adoption is actually this Friday. And her reaction when we brought her into the air conditioning after Texas heat. Oh my goodness, I can imagine she would be like, "Yes, thank you. Normally heat, like it's not sweaty humid because I know Texas is like hot, right? Um, like really hot. Compared to it's probably pretty cold here right now. We do have the weather function as Nightbot has made his presence in the chat already at time. Oh, that turned into a half double crochet. Now it's a double crochet. Um, so we could probably check. My local weather is like, I don't know, 23 maybe? I don't know. She just stopped, closed her eyes, and enjoyed it for a full minute. I don't blame her. Oh, I was pretty close. It's 24 degrees Celsius here, which is about 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind is blowing from north-northeast at 8 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 43. And I would agree with them being fair. It is sort of sunny, and now it's not sunny anymore, but it was sunny. But it's a wonderful story, Revenant. Absolutely wonderful story. Love it. And I think, you know, there are so many animals at the shelters that why not help them if possible? Was a Danish shelter trying to get a cat adopted away, and the cat is pretty old. So they're like, yeah, we know she might not get anyone, but she is the most wonderful beast. So we still think she deserves a chance to be adopted. I happen to know a person here in the Netherlands that when he's had adopted cats, and he usually always goes to the rescue to get them. Not necessarily that they're in that sense a rescue animal. Sometimes animals end at the adoption centers because their owners passed away, or that they're forced to move into a nursing home and aren't allowed to bring their pets, etc. Right? Which would be the same for my granddad's cat back in the days. Um, and uh, and he always got the old ones because they're nice and calm and docile. I'm aware I'm probably only having them for a couple of years, but I'm fine with it because he was just happy that they were calm beasts. The weather for Vatco in Texas are currently 83 degrees Fahrenheit or it's 28 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from the north at 4 miles per hour and the current humidity is 68. That is, I would say, reasonably warm given the fact that it's just 9 in the morning. In New Jersey, the conditions are showers with a vicinity in the vicinity, so it's probably going to rain or it is raining. With a temperature of 76 degrees Fahrenheit or 9 degrees Celsius, wind is blowing from east and the current humidity is 99. That sounds wet. I did hear the first hurricane was sighted and it's going up coast. We will hit 4 degrees easily. Yeah, I wouldn't be in doubt on that. And you're more than welcome to keep those 40 degrees Celsius because I'm happy if it just remains like what it is right now. It doesn't need to be warmer, it doesn't need to be colder, it's just perfect. Like 22 to 24 degrees Celsius is my optimal weather. Oh, and we are now at the fan section, which means that we are almost at where we started during this live. Then we just need to recoup whatever work we've done. But yeah, that was a sad frog. I'm still sad about that part. But it is what it is. Meanwhile, it is now 10 minutes past 4 p.m. here in the Netherlands. And so far, we haven't yarn bathed whatever I've frogged yet. That makes me happy. But I'm also not really going to move the yarn around. And it goes much quicker if I can just pull it out and leave it in the crate than if I have to wind it up first. And given that it was an inside cake pull, there wasn't really much wind it up around. So it was easy just to pull it and leave it in the crate. So far that's worked up quite nice, I would say. Oh, rain is coming from the west, not really from hurricane. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I think it was also first like towards the end of the week. I do have this app where I can follow weather around the globe, and what I do like about it is that it shows winds, and we do have quite a bit of people around. Let's see. It's right now around, I think, Bermuda, maybe? No. It's in between. It's hovering in between Florida and Bermuda and kinda ish. Let's see if I can actually show this decently. Look at that beast. Here is the tip of Florida. Down here you have the Keys. Florida, Hamilton on Bermuda is right there. It's right in between you guys. And if I press and play, we can see the movement the coming days, and that is going up north, my friends. We have Washington up here, and it's progressing further north. Virginia Beach a bit further south. It's going to pick up the edges on Virginia Beach. And then it's heading up coast. That would be Friday. It would be up here between New York and Bermuda. And then it's going up further north. End of Friday, we are slowly getting up towards the northern bit of Canada, where you have the Newfoundland Islands. So it seems that it's going to stay in the ocean, but I do believe they categorized it as a category 5, 4, 5. Like a few days ago, they were like, first sighting is already a big damn motherfucker for hurricane. The swell is already hitting Maryland, Delaware. Yeah, I can imagine. It looks like one big beast of a storm. It's a great app. It's a free app, actually. It's called Windy, for those being curious. You can also have a paid version of it, but I like it because, you know, it does give me a good indication of where the winds are. And even here in Europe, even though we don't have hurricanes, we have a good idea of it also. Because sometimes we do have a hefty storm. So yeah, that is a big friend, and we need to respect Mother Nature because we can't do much about it except being cautious. Um, I do know quite a few people as well in Florida, and I always every season being like, oh, I wish they aren't gonna get stuck. A few people in Tampa or around Tampa region. Some of them, unfortunately, has seen quite a few hurricanes, especially like the last year. I think they had two striking. We have been dancing around a really bad storm for the last few years with how hot the Caribbean has gotten. Warm ocean water can mean massive storms. Definitely. Yeah. But I also have the feeling that the storms we experience also here in Europe, um, because they do come from the Atlantic Ocean, some of them, and they are leftovers of whatever has happened over there, that they have also increased in intensity, some of them. So it does seem that the global weather is definitely changing somehow. Also, given the fact like this year, our June was really warm compared to what it normally is, at least a couple of extra degrees Celsius on average, and more sun. We had 30 degrees plus 30 degrees in the first heat wave in the middle of June, and that is normally more like a July August thing. So it gets warmer earlier in the year is what we experience as well as some of the storms seem to be a bit heavier in general, like they're a bit stronger, a bit more intense. And when those summer storms hit, some of them they bring sudden rainfalls, like a lot of rain within really short time periods. It almost feels like a monsoon, like half an hour of monsoon rain, which the drainage isn't able to handle. So often you get lots of water floating in the streets, and basically you would wreck your car attempting to drive it because if you're lucky, it's not drowned already. Um, Texas haven't been too bad this year. A couple of years we were horrible in the 100 degrees plus every day for 100 days straight. That sounds hot and warm. I'm like kind of, I think I just melted. I definitely just melted. Jesus, that is warm for a very long period of time. Yeah, 40 degrees press for multiple days. No, thank you. No, thank you. I do not need that. For us, it's more like if we have a week straight of 30 degrees, like 90 degrees plus, it's warm, warm. But generally, I prefer it not to go much past 80. Maybe it would change if I had a lovely air conditioning, which I'm definitely contemplating on investing in for next year. Depending on a few other things, of course, in life. But yeah, who knows? I might end up doing that. And it would probably almost pay for itself because we have solar panels on the roof. So the actual usage of it, when it's like those warm days, as long as the sun is shining. Ching-a-ching. But I also said to my partner, if we're getting one, I definitely want two because I would want one in my bedroom for sleeping, so it's like not too warm. And I would want one in the living room, which is where we spend most of our time. So if we have to install one, we can just as well do two, right? Like, that would make most sense. So I'd need 2 units, one for each floor. Yes, please. I am dreaming. 2 years ago, we were stuck in a heat dome and it was awful. By far the worst summer I've ever had. 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's about 41.3 every day, no cloud cover at all. That sounds boiling. I've definitely melted away. And the worst thing is when you feel the sun is really like biting warm. So the crazy thing is, so it's almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we went to New Zealand and we were there for 4 weeks. And we had really great weather. It was sunny almost every day. I think we only had one day of rain 4 weeks, so that was pretty good. We were lucky enough to kind of travel away from it, I guess, when it rained. But that wasn't planned. Well, the travels was planned, but we didn't plan it around the weather because we didn't know that when we planned the travel. But they have a gap in the ozone layer, and that means that it does need to be very warm, but as soon as the sun shines, within 15 minutes you're a lobster if you haven't used sunscreen. And it's just biting also, like you can really feel it bites, like it's powerful. um and of course the last day it was cloudy before we went home, and we're like, oh, but we're only going to be out for like half an hour, it's going to be fine, we don't need to do the suntan. And we had a light sunburn when we got back, being like, where were the sun? um but yeah, that was a good travel though. I want to go back, but I want to do many things in life. um we can't do them all. I also want to go to the States at some stage. If I ever go there, I definitely want to visit a craft store. And I need to make sure I have extra room in my suitcase on the way back. And if I travel there, I should probably make sure I travel Delta KLM, because I actually have an extra suitcase I can bring me then in that case, and I might just buy yarn and stack it in and bring a suitcase of yarn with me back home, and then just hope I won't get stopped in the customs. Tra-la-la-la. Can't dream, can we? Because right now I do have my frequent flyer card that gives me an extra suitcase for free as long as I fly SkyTeam, which would be Delta, for example. If I'm traveling for a craft store, Hirschness is the one you want. Good to know. If I am traveling, I'm probably traveling to do touristy things, and the yarn store would be a lovely add-on, because I'm not really sure my partner would be like, oh yay, craft store, let's go. He might not be, unless I say, honey, I pay for your ticket, but we have to go buy a craft store. That is one of the things. But I'll pay for your ticket to go there, but we have to at minimum go to a craft store. He might actually consider that, even if that's a stipulation. They're in Wisconsin, but just chock full of yarn and craft things. Yeah. So I have this idea that I want to travel to see, like, we want to do a lot of things, like, the classics, Niagara Falls. Would love to see Yellowstone, etc., like those big things. So I'm not really sure if Wisconsin is along the road for that. I do have a friend who lives in the state of, I do believe she's also in New Jersey. And she's told me um, that if I ever came and she was home, I was more than welcome to come by and say hello. Um, she's in New Jersey and she has a summer cabin in New Hampshire. And that's kind of like, would probably fly in and out of New York. But at the same time, they also say the Niagara Falls is the most beautiful from the Canadian side. So I don't know if we would have to fly via Canada and then drive south through the States. But it's probably going to be more than one travel with everything that we want to see, or we're going to like move there for a year and like road trip the whole States, which definitely none of us neither can afford, nor will our employers give us so much time off. What yarn would you buy in the USA? Most yarn sold in the USA is imported from other countries. Susan, I don't know. I just want to experience the yarn store, and maybe there's some yarns that I think could be really nice to bring. That said, I've noticed one of the stores where I buy yarn sometimes have Lion brands, so I might actually see if I can get some of their Lion brands. I might. That's uh, that's my consideration right now. Um, the US is huge from New York to LA, the equivalent of London to Moscow. Yeah, I know. That's my point. It will be multiple travels if we want to see everything. I've kind of accepted that fact. And I know so many people over there, they all being like, hey, if you ever come over here, please let me know because you're more than welcome to come and say hello or to stay or let's grab a cup of coffee or whatever, right? And I'm like, except for the fact I'm not a coffee drinker, I'm being like, yeah, sure, that's nice to know, but getting there is kind of the thing. Um, it is usually like a 9 hours flight from Amsterdam to wherever, like to the East Coast. It was 9.5 hours from Düsseldorf in Germany, which like I live between Amsterdam and Düsseldorf, so I can choose the airport. When we went to Atlanta a bit further, I guess. So if I would only go to New York, we would drop down further. Oh, quicker. Susan understands that I want to experience a Michaels or a Hobby Lobby, for example, something like that. Yeah, Joann's is probably not going to be the thing, right? Because they went bankrupt. Um, but yeah, for the matter of the speaking, I just want the experience of, and maybe you'll pop into something. If it's a sale, it would probably be worth it. But my friends, we are now made it as far as where we started the stream after the frotting, which means that I just started that row we started on when we started the live. Woohoo! But I can tell you for sure that I will not be able to recover everything that we did because the time just doesn't allow for it today. The classic joke is Americans think 100 years is a long time and Europeans think 100 miles is a long distance. I love it. I don't think 100 miles is a long distance, but that is due to the fact that my parents live 965 kilometers away. And I drive that at least like kind of once a year-ish, if not more often. And these days I fly monthly back and forth. Um, and that is, in a matter of terms of flying speaking, just up and down, literally, because you're like an hour in the air, maybe an hour and 10, depending on the airport. Um, so yeah, it's not that far, but it's true because So Denmark consists of a big peninsula and a lot of small islands. And Copenhagen is one on the biggest island in Denmark. And from my parents to Copenhagen is like 70 odd kilometers. It's like an hour drive. And that feels like a long distance because it's kind of like almost across the island. Where the same distance is an easier drive, because if you're not used to the limitations of water, um, then distances somehow gets um, less trivial. Um, I do know also from the Netherlands that there are people considering anything more than an hour's drive is long distance. At the same time, I've done lots of driving with for my sport. I used to compete in the German Bundesliga, and when doing that, we drove every second weekend there, and some of the matches were like 250 miles away. So we had to drive 250 miles Saturday morning for the training, and then in the evening we had the first competition, and then Sunday morning we had a competition, and then Sunday afternoon we would drive 250 miles back home and be back at work Monday morning. um, so personally I don't think it's a lot, but I can relate because I do know how some distances seem longer, or used to seem longer than maybe I would say now. But the time also goes quicker, I think, than it used to. A lot quicker, by the way. Best thing when I was a child was the summer vacation from school. And it felt like forever when you got the vacation. And then the first couple of weeks still felt like you still had forever left. And when you had like 1 or 2 weeks left, it was like, oh my god, it's already gone. And I have to say that was kind of the same with New Zealand. You know, being away for 4 weeks felt like forever. At the same time, the time just went so fast by. Um, but it did feel like forever. I could definitely go there again. But we have a house renovation we probably need to do before then. Um, and a few other things. I need to make sure my mom is well. I definitely wouldn't want to sit on New Zealand and then having to go back home with emergency. I would not feel really happy about that. That's just too long of a travel. But at some stage, I'd definitely love to go back. We did meet a person when we were down there. He was also from the Netherlands, and he told us that every half year he traveled back and forth. So he was in the Netherlands during the summer, so during the Dutch summer, and then he went south for the winter to have the New Zealand summer. So every year he just like every half year he just flew back and forth. I can definitely see myself doing that. um, I definitely wouldn't complain. Which, on that note, I guess I'm just in the mood for a real nice, good vacation somewhere. Um, so maybe I should keep my eyes out for, I don't know, a last minute vacation or something like that. Maybe something nice pops up. That could be. That could be nice. But we are chugging along nicely here. So as I said, we are now catching up a little bit on where we had gotten to, not completely, but we are on that row. I am though surprised that that the color ran so long without a color change. But I will also say I shall not complain because I'm just following my plan. You're probably halfway back to where we got, maybe a bit, yeah, probably about halfway, bit mile halfway back. Maybe I am a little bit too low. I could do like that, I think. That would be better. I think so. I do think so. So yeah, I'm not really sure if there are specific yarns that I necessarily would desperately want to buy. It's more an experience of the craft stores. At the same time, I didn't pop into any craft stores in New Zealand like at all whatsoever, but I probably didn't look at the right places. I know they may have some, but at the same time, I also know that when we were in New Zealand, I would not have had any success asking for going specific to a yarn store, because I had more people with me. It was not only just all me. So that was kind of what it was. Let's see. If you haven't done it yet, don't forget to give this video a like. And if you are rewatching this live, thank you so much for joining in and getting this far. I very much appreciate it. I'm expecting, if everything goes according to plan, to be live again next week, Monday, around 2 p.m. Central European Time. Everything depending on work, but I am trying my best to make those times work. And by then, we will see if I still have this project to work on. I am not positive. Part of that is due to there is some hours between now and then. Maybe I finished it by then. Maybe I have another project, or maybe I am about to finish and we're finishing up together. Who knows? Who knows? And before then, of course, Friday we'll have my Friday weekly yarn talk. And I do have a few other things that I'm working on. So far, this looks correct. I just need to pay a little bit of attention so that I'm not pacing through this a little bit too fast, because I would hate to frock this one again. I would absolutely hate to frock it. And I'm just checking, but everything actually looks as it should. My hobby order finally got here yesterday. I was hung up in customs for a while. Got the tea time Halloween yarn and a couple of mega balls. Nice! Which of the Halloween tea time yarns? Because I've been eyeballing the green one and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I know it was on sale last week and I should maybe have gotten it, but I was like, no, they can do better than 30% off. And maybe they can't, and then that's okay. Because my yarn stash room budget, everything combined, says I probably shouldn't buy it, and therefore I'm just gonna see if I can postpone it to get some of their better deals, which usually comes when we get closer to Halloween. And honestly, there is a risk of me not getting it, and I'll be fine because I don't have a project lined out for it, and I am fine on my yarn account wise. Like I've plenty of yarns to work with, so I should not get it. I do though get something else from Hobbii, because it was something I needed to finish up something, and it was on sale. They should put the colorway in the sense of they put a yarn. They do put a yarn number. If you want to, what I can do is I'll pop over here, and we can go for the Halloween yarn. Oh, it's still on sale. 33% off. $10. That green, I think, is gorgeous. And according to this, it's already sold out. So yeah, I probably should have gotten it if I really wanted it so desperately. In hindsight. But I'm also fine because, as I said, I have plenty of yarns. I really, really shouldn't. The colorway 2. Scream. It looks good though. Is it also as vibrant in reality as it is here on the website? You will have to tell me that. I'd love to know if it's just as vibrant in reality. I think also this one is gorgeous. Witch's Love. Gorgeous color combinations. And of course the green one. My goodness. And I love greens. It doesn't help, of course. Yes, please. Snake Poison. This looks nice too, but then I'd probably rather have the one you got. There's a bit of darker yarn, so it varies a bit. The orange and greys are pretty neon. Okay, good to know. Maybe I should have gotten some. Oh well. Another yarn that I was eyeballing is, so I know they also made new dahlias, and I do have a couple of this one, the Freaky Nightmare. I still have a couple of colors of these in my stash. I don't think I have, or maybe I have. I don't think I have the Dark Witch, or maybe I have one, and the same goes for the Mad Scientist. But I also know I have at least 2 of these, which is Harvest something, or Pumpkin Spice Pie, sorry. But they also made a couple of new ones here. It's really slow today. I do apologize. I like the total Halloween, but I'm not so sold on the rest here. Like maybe Witch Valentine, maybe. But it's because I think the color transition here is much smoother on the older cakes than they are in the newer ones. So that's maybe why I'm like a bit iffy on them. And we have the Halloween Twister Halloweens. And here, my friends, yes, please, I'd love to get this one. I just did not want to pay the price. I did not want to pay, in this case, $30 for it. Hell no. And therefore, I decided that I am willing to risk it and then wait for a sale. And maybe they don't get on sale. And you know, usually, but not always, but usually the same yarn comes back Halloween next year. So if I meanwhile then have more room in my stash or know what I want to make from it, then I guess I'll have to wait a year. You know, I'm trying to not let FOMO control me, so the fear of missing out. Or my collection, my yarn collection. I also really enjoy this one. It looks really nice too. I'm not too sold on this, but it's not bad. I think that just the other two are nice. The other two ones are nicer. I do have this one in my stash, which is a really nice one. I actually think I have one of each because this one I know I have for sure as well. I think I do have goals, and the All Hallows Eve I definitely do have. So I think I have one of each of these. So theoretically I should get one of each of the other ones, I guess, just for my collection thing. But we are back to I don't really need it. I don't like. And definitely not for $30 a pop. I do have a benefit opposed to the Americans, though. I do not have any issues with de minimis being removed because I am in the EU and so is Hobbii. And if it wasn't the case, then you know I would just get them when I were in Denmark and get them delivered to my mom's place or whatnot. But actually, believe it or not, it's cheaper for me to buy on the Dutch Hobbii store than it is to buy my yarns in Denmark because of value-added taxes and stuff. So often I get my experience and then I buy it on the Dutch store because that is cheaper. A good example would be the cottons, like the 8/8 or 8/4 cottons they have. I save maybe 15 cents a piece by buying them in the Netherlands rather than buying them in Denmark and taking them with me. So that is a little fun fact for you. Yep. I see it does complain a little bit about the usage of my stream capacity. I hope you guys are fine. It's probably more me needing a new computer than anything else, which I genuinely would love to get, but I'm trying to postpone any computer purchase until next year, and that is very much related to taxes. That would be the short version of it. I made a very big order this year from the US for my small business. I do import it from the US, and I need to obviously make that money back. And my laptop also goes on the business. So what I would need to do is probably to wait for next year because that would look better on the expense sheets. But I probably need to do it different because we need to devaluate it. I need to consider that. Maybe I can do it sooner then, if not. Has seemed fine so far. Yeah, it's first gonna be end of the stream, I hope. Else you let me know if the stream starts freezing on me. It could also just be that the system complains, but it doesn't necessarily always mean that there is an issue with the stream. I only experienced once that it froze, and that seemed to be more my iPad, because what I do when I stream is that I do have a stream running on my iPad next to me just to kind of keep watch on what's actually going on, because sometimes I lose track. So I can see what you guys can see. Um, but usually it goes well, and I think back when it froze, I just refreshed it and then it was fine. And it's also not impossible because that iPad is getting quite old. I'll probably also need a new one of those to do at some stage. But this is just me squeezing a little bit of extra life, I guess, out of my computer. But it's more often than not complaining about overload. No wonder it's like at least 5 years old, if not older. Crank it. 6 more maybe. Well, it has been lovely chatting, but I have chores I must be about. Happy stitching. Thank you very much. I'm also not that much longer here. Maybe another, I don't know, 10 minutes or to meet the tip or something like that, because then I have to do things and I was on a bit late. But I very much appreciate spending time with you, and I hope you're going to have an absolutely great day ahead and that the weather will be kind. Do me a favor and give your dog a couple of scratches behind their ears. I think she has deserved it. But yeah, so I'm kind of proud that I didn't get the Halloween yarns, even though that my first instinct was to do it. But I'm proud I didn't. So yeah, here's for me hoping that we will get a little bit better sale on them before then, and that that those are good deals. Plus, Black Friday yarn is also coming, and as I said, we are really trying to ensure my overall stash is decreasing in one way or another. Weight, length, weight or lengthwise, skein wise. And I probably should see how bad it is. But yeah. Do, do, do. As I said, we wouldn't be able to reach to redo it all, but we are definitely getting closer. But not completely where I had hoped. But yeah, that happens when you make mistakes and have to frog. And shawl-wise, it's so big now that it definitely does take a while to get around. That was the tip. We'll just do a few more, and then we're probably at a stage where we need to close up the stream, because, my friends, I gotta cook dinner. 5 p.m. is very shortly up here in the Netherlands, and I like to eat on time, as well does my partner. Plus, after dinner, I am heading off to the fitness. Plus, I am visiting also. Well, visiting. I'm doing my groceries. Not a lot of groceries. It's just more like a few things that I need to pick up, and I need to do that on time because the store also closes on time. So I just need to make sure that I'll make that. But overall, we should be fine. It is really like getting warm in here today. I can't even see. It's 25 degrees Celsius here in the living room. My goodness. That is probably the reason. So yeah, I can tell you one thing for sure. I wouldn't have been able to do and work on my blanket today. It would have been way too warm. Because it's warm for me just to sit with this. The good note is that look at how little we have left of the frog. But what I have to do is I have to put my yarn ends down here because, as I said, we are really getting closer to me having to end this. But we're almost there. Well, let's do another few, and then what I can say is that, of course, if you are rewatching this live, I am very much appreciative of you have got so far. Thank you for everybody who's been around today, hanging out with us. Even if you have been an active part of the chatting community and kept the conversation going, or if you have just, having me running in the background, everything is nice. I appreciate it. I hope you have had a great crafting day as well, or morning, afternoon, evening, and that is pretty much it, I think. I'm gonna insert a stitch marker here. We are about this piece done from being back as to where we started frocking. But I did progress compared to before the live started, just not as much as I would have wanted to. That is a reality. So what we are going to do is we are going to pop back up. Ta-ta! I'm going to say thank you so very much for hanging out with me. It was an absolutely wonderful time. I had a great time. I hope you did too. Well, I will be back Friday with the Yarn Talk video. Check that one out because hopefully I have wrapped up the cowl. I have to sew on buttons. So I finished and made buttons yesterday. I need to pull off the cowl from the blocking board right over there. And I need to sew on the buttons. And then I also finished a bucket hat or summer hat, however you want to look at it. And then I'll be live again on Monday afternoon. I'll be back, and I hope I'll be back with you guys too. And then we'll see where it all brings us from there. So I'm going to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. Take care and happy crafting, and so see you again, and stay healthy. Bye.